Former Bidadari Cemetery. The name alone sends shivers down the spine of anyone who knows its history. What happens when you walk through Singapore's oldest graves after midnight? For decades, this place has been at the center of Singapore's most terrifying paranormal encounters. Tonight, we're diving deep into the dark and disturbing history of Former Bidadari Cemetery, separating fact from folklore, and exploring the chilling encounters that have made this one of the most feared locations in all of Southeast Asia. If you're watching this alone, in the dark, you might want to turn a light on. What you're about to hear is not a story. It's a warning. The history of Former Bidadari Cemetery stretches back to a time when Singapore was a very different place. This sacred ground has witnessed generations of the dead laid to rest beneath its soil. But not all who were buried here found peace. Some were laid to rest without proper rites. Others were forgotten entirely, their graves unmarked, their names lost to time. In Singapore's spiritual traditions, the dead who are not properly honored do not simply fade away. They linger. They wait. And sometimes, they make their presence known in ways that are impossible to ignore. Over the decades, visitors to Former Bidadari Cemetery have reported encounters that defy explanation. Glowing orbs floating between the graves at midnight. The sound of weeping carried on the wind when no living person is nearby. The feeling of being watched, followed, touched by something that should not exist in our world. These are not isolated incidents. They form a pattern that stretches back generations and continues to this very day. The paranormal activity at Former Bidadari Cemetery is not a single type of haunting. It is a complex and layered phenomenon that has evolved over time. The haunting of Former Bidadari Cemetery is legendary. This eerie site is home to ghostly apparitions and sudden cold drafts reported in the newly built housing estate. Multiple types of supernatural encounters have been documented here. Visitors report apparitions, full-bodied figures that appear and disappear without warning. Some appear as solid as a living person, only to vanish when approached. Others are translucent, barely visible, like images projected onto the darkness itself. Then there are the auditory phenomena. Disembodied footsteps echoing through empty spaces. Whispers that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The sound of doors slamming shut when there is no wind and no living person nearby. Some witnesses have reported hearing their own names called out by voices that belong to no one they can see. Physical encounters have also been documented. People have described being touched by unseen hands, feeling sudden and intense cold spots in warm rooms, and experiencing the sensation of being pushed or pulled by an invisible force. Electrical devices malfunction without explanation. Cameras capture images that were not visible to the naked eye. The paranormal activity at Former Bidadari Cemetery is not diminishing with time. If anything, the reports are becoming more frequent and more intense. Perhaps the most compelling evidence of the supernatural at Former Bidadari Cemetery comes from the sheer number of independent witness accounts. These are not the stories of a single individual. They come from different people, different backgrounds, different time periods, all describing remarkably similar experiences. One common thread in many accounts is the feeling of being watched. Visitors describe a prickling sensation on the back of their neck, an instinctive knowledge that something is observing them from the shadows. Some have reported seeing eyes glowing, inhuman eyes staring back at them from dark corners. Another recurring theme is the emotional impact. People who visit Former Bidadari Cemetery often describe feeling a sudden and overwhelming sense of sadness, fear, or dread that has no apparent source. It is as if the location itself carries the emotional imprint of past suffering, and visitors absorb that imprint simply by being present. These are not the experiences of people who went looking for ghosts. Many of the most chilling accounts come from skeptics, people who visited out of curiosity and left with their worldview permanently altered. Over the years, paranormal investigators have visited Former Bidadari Cemetery with equipment designed to detect and document supernatural activity. Electromagnetic field detectors have registered unexplained spikes. Temperature sensors have recorded sudden drops of 10 degrees or more in sealed rooms with no source of cold air. Audio recorders have captured what investigators call electronic voice phenomena, voices that were not audible during the investigation but appeared on playback. Theories about the nature of the hauntings vary. Some believe the spirits at Former Bidadari Cemetery are residual hauntings, emotional recordings imprinted on the environment by traumatic events, playing on a loop like a broken record. Others believe these are intelligent hauntings, spirits that are aware of the living and interact with them deliberately. Still others propose that Former Bidadari Cemetery sits on a thin point between dimensions, a place where the veil between worlds is naturally weaker. Whatever the explanation, the evidence accumulated over decades makes one thing clear: something is happening at Former Bidadari Cemetery that we do not yet fully understand. Today, Former Bidadari Cemetery stands as a testament to Singapore's hidden history, the dark, forgotten chapters that most people would rather not think about. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the stories associated with this place are deeply embedded in the cultural memory of Singapore. They serve as a reminder that the past is never truly past, and that the places we abandon do not simply forget what happened within their walls. If you ever find yourself near Former Bidadari Cemetery after dark, remember the stories you've heard tonight. Remember the witnesses. Remember the encounters. And ask yourself, would you dare to step inside? Subscribe for more chilling Singapore history. Like this video if it gave you goosebumps. And remember, some places are haunted for a reason.